A lot of us think of lakes as a small spot to go fishing. But the truth is that lakes come in all shapes and sizes. Some lakes are more like the ocean, dipping into depths of hundreds or even thousands of feet. And some lakes aren't leisurely spots to swim, they're ice cold. No matter their size, a lot of lakes have some really terrible rumors around them, leading a lot of us to ask ourselves, are they true? My name is Brianne, and I'm the host and creator of Among the Dirt and Trees, a show where we explore true crime cases that occur out in nature. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at some murder accusations surrounding Lake Tahoe, a lake that is nestled upon the California and Nevada border with a surprisingly dark history. At least if you believe what they say, of course. Lake Tahoe is a freshwater lake that, at its deepest point, drops down to 1,645 feet. At least that's what Google says, but that is a very specific and rounded number, in my opinion. As a general Google fun fact from CaliforniaCrossings.com, Lake Tahoe is as deep as the Empire State Building is tall. The only difference is that Lake Tahoe is over 2 million years old and also not a building. Now, Lake Tahoe and I have an interesting history, and I have actually been slandering its name for literal decades. I was able to visit this lake as a kid, and for the entirety of my life since then, I have told everyone that the water at Lake Tahoe is evil. Turns out I might be right. You might be wondering why I would say this. And the truth is that when I visited Lake Tahoe, I was in elementary school, like 2nd grade. And it was the point in my life where pool noodles were a really big deal. Not that they ever go out of style. But I took a pool noodle to play in the lake, which was really cold, just for the record. And my pool noodle literally didn't float. I bent it into a perfect U shape to make a little chair, and it just sank with me on it. And that really freaked me out. Now, behind almost every superstitious human freakout, there is science that can explain away the problem. And that's true here. Lake Tahoe is filled with freakishly pure water. At least it was back then. In fact, the water was more pure than the distilled water that you have to buy for your air purifiers and that goldfish that you want at the local fair. Legally, it doesn't even need to be filtered before it's sold as drinking water. And this really rings true to my memory. When I visited, we went out on a boat, and I remember being able to just look down into the water like hundreds of feet. It was so blue and so clear that it was unreal. A little Google research did tell me that this might not be the case anymore, so I'm so sorry if you go there and still expect this experience, but that was how it was when I was a kid. Lake Tahoe maintains a pretty cold temperature, at least to those of you who don't live in Colorado or anywhere else with a really high altitude. It generally ranges from 40 to 65 degrees. For your reference, the average pool temperature is about 80 degrees. And don't worry, I promise all of these facts are relevant to the fact that a lot of people believe that Lake Tahoe should probably be called Lake Murder. Lake Tahoe has had a lot of media accusations throughout the years. Like any lake, there are a fair bit of rumors surrounding it, but considering that Lake Tahoe has over 70 miles of shoreline, the rumors list is a lot more dramatic. There are two big rumors surrounding Lake Tahoe that I want to discuss. The first is that Lake Tahoe was commonly used as a dump site for mobsters back in the day. And the second is that it was used as a dump site for the US government. For obvious reasons, neither of these stories made it on the promotional material for the lake, but the real question is, are these accusations true? The mob stories surrounding Lake Tahoe are fairly interesting. Apparently, the area was used for a scene in The Godfather 2, which I admit I haven't seen, and a lot of people believe that the rumors started there. But not everyone is convinced. Apparently, mafia leaders owned some of the local casinos. It was often tied back to Frank Sinatra, who owned property there at the time and frequently connected with a member of the Chicago Mafia. A lot of people believed that the mob would dispose of bodies there, and some fishermen claim to have pulled out body parts during that time. It's believed that they would weigh down bodies with concrete and drop them down to the bottom of the lake. But it seems like no one really knows if this is true, or possibly that the people who did took the secret to their grave or died because they knew. At this point, it's anyone's guess. The US government stories are a lot more disturbing. There is a rumor that the US government murdered countless Chinese immigrants in Lake Tahoe to avoid paying them and to avoid granting them citizenship in the 1860s. Obviously, that is a really horrific claim. During the 1860s, there was apparently a high number of Chinese Americans, or future Chinese Americans at the time, who worked to build railroads after the gold rush. And some people believe that these hardworking individuals who were making minimum wage while risking their lives at work ultimately died for nothing. The rumors claim that the US government rounded people up, tied them together, weighed them down, and dumped them into the lake, all to avoid paying them and giving them citizenship. Because of this, there is a belief that at the bottom of the lake, hundreds of immigrants can be found chained together. Now, I'm not going to go into the countless immigrants that have died while entering and existing on American soil. Some people were told that if they just came over, they could claim land and live happily ever after. Others died for trying to do the same thing, and that's just a fact, but still, this is a huge claim, right? The idea that the US government would promise bright futures for these individuals and kill them is obviously terrible. But unless you don't believe any conspiracy theories at all, it's not totally implausible. The US government has done some shady things, especially throughout the course of history. But that's the power of good marketing too, and I wholly admit this as someone who works in marketing for a living. Sometimes stories ring true because of preconceived notions about certain topics, and it doesn't really matter if they're true or not because we still believe them. This rumor got so big that Jacques Cousteau, a researcher, documentarian, and former naval officer, decided to explore it. Rumors claim that he managed to get his hands on equipment that could go down into the depths of Lake Tahoe. And when he got there, he saw such unimaginable horrors that he abandoned his documentary entirely, claiming that the public was not ready to see what he discovered. But there is no real record that he managed to go there and actually do this, so no one knows if people are really telling the truth or not. Regardless, it is a pretty intense claim. Now, you might be wondering, why is there all this hype, and why would people be looking for bodies and not bones? Since Lake Tahoe is freakishly cold, it is really good at preserving bodies. In normal water, bodies float because of bacterial buildup. But in Lake Tahoe, it is too cold for that to happen most of the time. So, just like my childhood pool noodle, bodies sink in Lake Tahoe. And they also stay really well preserved. When temperatures fluctuate, preserved bodies float up to the shore somewhat regularly. And one perfectly preserved body was identified as a diver that had been missing for 17 years. If there are any bodies at the bottom of Lake Tahoe, there is a very good chance that they are fairly intact. Spurred on by this fact, a few studies have been conducted. We've done sonar readings, sent down submarines, and in 2016, more than 30 divers were given the chance to explore the bottom of the lake for over a month. But none of these searches have turned up any bodies, at least as far as these funded searches claim. Given the size of Lake Tahoe, I'll be honest in saying that this fact is what made me believe that there might be some truth to the other rumors. In a lake where bodies are known to stay preserved, is it really likely that these searches didn't turn up anyone when so many bodies have shown up on shore? I guess I don't know, and I'm pretty sure that I don't want to know either. So, if you want to discuss your favorite lakes, how large bodies of water claim lives and conceal murders, or your preferred technique when using a pool noodle, feel free to contact me on Twitter or Instagram using the tag @DatPod. Thanks, guys.